Author Kenny Down here. Glad to be coming to you doing another video on the book, The Mirror, the Window, and the Wall, the Life-Changing Power of Finding Our True Self. We did an introductory video on the book and how to use the book. We did a video on Darlene's prayer. We did a video on the mirror, and we did a video on the section, the window, and today we're doing a section on the wall. The section on the wall begins, when the window opened and all could see around and over, nobody believed her lies anymore. The brave ones looked into her eyes and offered a solution. This was when she began to build the wall. One brick at a time, higher and higher she went. It was somewhere in her childhood that she laid the first row. She didn't remember exactly when. She only knew she could never stop. The wall is the final progression prior to us having our spiritual bankruptcy, our emotional bankruptcy, our mental bankruptcy, and in often cases a material bankruptcy as well. The wall is the result of this distorted mirror that we talked about, where we look in and we see this distorted image of ourselves that's not the truth, but we believe it's the truth, so we try to hide that from everybody by putting up a window and controlling what everybody can see. I only want you to see me when I'm happy. I don't want you to know how I really feel about myself, so I will overcompensate and come out sometimes self-centered and egotistical, sometimes meek and kind, trying to get you to believe that I'm a kind person when really in my heart I am a judgmental person. Those kinds of things. That window begins to fail. People can see over, around. The window, we can't quite get it closed all the way, so people begin to hear things and have a perception that, hey, the Kenny show is not going to come off very well. This is not working for me. And people begin to leave or distance themselves. And when we do, we say, well, that person's an enemy. They probably don't like me. They've got something against me. And we start building these walls. The walls are the result of this mirror and this window that we try to control so people can't see what we see in the mirror. And when that fails, we build walls. The section goes on. She felt lonely, even in a crowd who genuinely loved her. She felt alone when she was praised. She self-destructed when criticized. She believed she knew the truth about herself. They're only being kind to me to appear nice. They don't really like me. One day turned into a week turned into a month, and soon years had gone by and she was walled in from all sides. She was convinced that what separated her was that she had been victimized, shunned, and thrown away. It was remarkable that she built the wall and yet believed it was others who were laying the bricks. It was then that she screamed, "Somebody please help me." She thought nobody heard. In the end, prior to us coming to the spiritual life, this is often what drives people, that we've built these walls. We feel like we've been victimized, we've been shunned, we've been thrown away, we've been banished from the tribe. And I want to be clear. When that happens, I'm not saying that we don't distance ourselves from other people, that there are what some people may call thoroughly bad intention. And if people are trying to harm us or have victimized, it's okay, even if they're family. Get some distance. But this idea that we build walls and we are the ones who are boxed in, we are the ones who are laying the bricks. I'm laying down the mortar and setting the next brick, and up we go until I am totally alone. That's what we're talking about with this wall, is this all aloneness, this feeling that we're a failure. There is no human emotion more devastating than a feeling of being completely alone and isolated and absolutely useless to anybody or anything on this planet. Even those people that we love, we isolate ourselves from by doing this. That's when we scream out. Internally, we'll scream out. Sometimes the external comes out that, God, please help me. Please show me something. Please show me some sign. And nothing happens. We think nobody's heard. Her body broke down. She began to seek treatment for one syndrome after another. her greatest symptoms exhaustion and fatigue. Like her, even in our sleeping hours, our minds are hard at work keeping all the pieces of the mirror, the window, and the wall in place. She climbed to the top of the wall to peer over. She stumbled and fell. She felt like she had been pushed. Some say she jumped. With the mirror shattered, the window opened wide, and the wall now behind her, she had nowhere left to hide. She was broken and couldn't run. She laid sprawled on the ground, face down to earth. Falling off the wall did not come willingly. It was by divine intervention when all else had failed. Her failure was to become her freedom. And so it was with us. Whether she was forced by nature's winds, had been internally spooked and stumbled, or had reached the end and jumped, whichever way, God had shoved her. And this is such a beautiful thing that we have of looking back, and it's always in retrospect, that what seemed at the time this greatest failure in my life becomes my greatest gift, that this being boxed in completely. And that means that there was no friendly direction. No matter which way I turned, there was no seemingly way out. That I'd placed myself in that position. Those things are in retrospect when I see that. When we finally get to that place and we try to crawl out, and because of our weakened condition, we have no resistance and we stumble and fall. And when we hit the ground, it's when we're face down in the mud that people find this willingness to seek a spiritual way of life, or else. That's the way it is for many of us. When we're looking at this last piece, her body broke down. She began to seek treatment for one syndrome after another. Her greatest symptom was exhaustion and fatigue. When we're in this position, we do become exhausted. It's exhausting to try to continue doing this. It says that even in our sleeping hours, our minds are hard at work. And I think people who this book appeals to, the people that are attracted and this resonates with you, they know what it's like for this mind, this constant, steady stream of thoughts, this thing we call the thought life. And for us, it can be a very negative thought life. And we're going to turn that into a positive flow of thoughts that is between us and this power greater than ourselves, this power we call God. That not only are we exhausting ourselves in the day, but we're sleeping and thinking and dreaming about controlling the mirror, the window, and recognizing how afraid we are when we find that we've boxed ourselves in with the wall. When we look at this section again, we're going to come back to the piece we've all been waiting for, the true self. How do you use these tools of discovering the truth in the mirror, discovering the truth of the window, and discovering the truth of the wall to find your true self? That is what we're headed for. In this next video, we will be looking at the true self. And thank you, God. Thank you to all of you for coming to see these videos and for reading this book, for devoting yourself to finding this true self through this process. It's a magical process. It's worked miracles in my life, and it's so amazing that even being the one that wrote this book, this has transformed my life completely. This was a book divinely inspired, I feel, and I'm glad to be sharing it with you. God bless.